What is happening, guys? Chris from YugiohCardMarket here, and today I am profiling my Espeon Zoroark deck profile. So I'm going to talk through the individual choices and basically why you should consider this deck in standard format. So starting off, we have 3 EV to Espeon. That's a really good ratio because you want to start with the EV and you don't actually want 3 copies of the Espeon out at any time. Plus you can recycle it no problem with the likes of Puzzle of Time. So it's just a good ratio to start with the EV or a Pokemon EV and a Floatstone to get the EV into the active. Espeon is just a really solid going second move. You still go first as normal because getting to evolve into your Zoroarks before your opponent is key. But EV just gives a really solid going second move because attaching a Psychic Energy for a Confusion for 30, 60 onto a Fighting, 60 onto a non-fighting GX, etc, is just so good. And Confusion does a lot of damage, especially to basic Pokemon because they're not evolving, so getting rid of Confusion is really hard unless they have free retreat. So continuing on, we have 4 Zoroark, 4 Zoroark, that is incredibly standard in any Zoroark deck, 3 Tapu Lele and 1 Oranguru resource management because we don't want to lose the mill and there is a lot of resources you want to keep churning out after they are expended. So moving on to the trainer line, we have 2 Acerola, 1 Cynthia, 1 Sycamore. I do believe this is still a really good split rather than playing 2 Cynthia, because there is times when you really don't want to redraw the stuff you're putting back in. So Sycamore is just really good for discarding those cards to ensure you don't draw them again. The only time you want Cynthia over Sycamore is if there is Puzzle Times in your hand, because they are invaluable, especially in the mirror, the real grindy games. Puzzle Time is the win con, which is why Oranguru is played, because it just means that you have more copies of Puzzle Time than your opponent if they are not playing Oranguru. So moving on, we have 3 Bridget, again really standard in any Zoroark deck. 3 N because an N lock with Confusion is still really good, although you're not doing the additional Garbatoxin lock that the Espeon Garb usually does. And Confusion is still really strong to pull out of, that to draw stuff like Guzma or Floatstone to really get out of it, and it can just really win games because psychologically your opponent's going to go with a safer option, which is not attacking, rather than risking maybe even a knockout depending on how well the how damaged the opponent is with Confusion. For Guzma, because the card is just really good, and you can hunt for knockouts to ensure you get your 6 prizes as fluently as possible. 1 Mallow for searching stuff like another Zoroark and Evo Soda, Energy, just tons of things Mallow can search. It's a really invaluable piece in the Zoroark deck. 2 Field Blower because it's not really Garbodor. That does suck sometimes, but it's mostly Fighting Fury build because that does prevent numbers. So yeah, 2 Field Blower, 1 Energy Lotto just to ensure that you can get your Psychic Energy turn 1, but also this quote-unquote searches DCA, which is really funny. Mallow and Energy Lotto does have a bit of synergy between them if you really reckon you can't get Zoroark out, so at least you can do that. 2 Evo Soda, in case you don't open the Psychic Energy, does have synergy that way, but mostly it is to just churn out as many Zoroark as you can on your turn 2. 4 Puzzle of Time, ready to spin the card, really good. 4 Ultra Ball is standard. 2 Choice Band, 2 Floatstone. Floatstone's really good for maneuvering Zoroark in and out of the active, for cleaning up KOs. Choice Band mostly goes on to Espeon because it can hit really big numbers with Psychic, but also making Confusion as strong as possible is important. 1 Parallel City because it just ruins the Zoroark mirror, and that can be a harder matchup because of the Psychic resistance. And lastly, for the energy, we're playing 6 Psychic and 4 DCE. So why should you play this deck? Well, there is a ton of fighting Pokemon out there right now, Buzzwole and Lucario, which is giving Zoroark a pretty hard time. So you have a really good first turn 1 with evolving into Zoroark ASAP with opening Bridget, etc. But also means you have a really good turn 2 that you can apply pressure if you're going second with the EV Espeon, which I just believe is fantastic. Let's look at Psychic, if it'll load. No, it won't. So Psychic is 1 Psychic, 2 DCE, it does 60, plus 30 for each energy on the active Pokemon. So against a Buzzwole, for example, if they're charging up a Knuckle Impact or Absorption, which they kind of have to do against Zoroark unless they're going for 2 shots. So Espeon can auto knock it out. It can also 2-shot it with Confusion and Choice Band, which is just really, really good. That puts so much pressure on the opponent. Lucario, if they're trying to get a Cantankerous Beatdown out, this can 1-shot it, but mostly the Confusion Lock is fantastic. It is really against the fighting types. Obviously, Lycanroc still presents the same problems as usual. You could play maybe a counter package plus stuff like Pinsir or Shaman if you really want. But I just think the matchup's fine either way, or it is a little bit unfavoured. But Espeon itself does do damage in that matchup. Again, with Confusion and Psychic and the VGX, if you really want to take out the Rockruffs without having to guzzle them out or whatever. I just believe that is a really good option for the deck to have. So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed this profile. Let me know what you think of the deck. Espeon GX is obviously fantastic. Won the recent regional Portland, partner with Garbodor, but I do believe it puts in work partnered with Zoroark. So as I say, guys, let me know what you think. Check out our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Check out our Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube if you play Yu-Gi-Oh. But for now, this is Chris from NGG.